Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, you all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought that I would talk about at least my little game review of this game. It was one of the all time great games that I personally have ever witnessed, probably in football history, when it comes down to it, in NFL history, of course. And this game, of course, was between that of the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I think for the first time ever in, I think for the first time ever, at least in my, little, I don't want to say career here, I guess, but in my time overall of predicting NFL playoffs or playoffs in general, I don't think that I've gotten every single game wrong ever within a week. But every single game this week, I ended up getting wrong. I went 0 for 4 this week. In the first week, I believe I went 5 of 1. The only one that I ended up getting wrong was the Dallas Cowboys versus San Francisco 49ers. But I did believe that that one was a 50-50 game. This week, I thought that the Tennessee Titans, even though I wasn't too surprised that they lost, I thought that the Tennessee Titans would be a little bit too experienced for that of the Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe I didn't do enough research, but of course, the Cincinnati Bengals they ended up surprising the Tennessee Titans. And then, of course, when you took a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus LA Rams, I was actually slightly leaning towards the Rams at the end of it, but I did predict the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a video earlier on, and they actually almost pulled it off. But Matthew Stafford actually showed up within the final 30 seconds of the game, so I have to give him a hell of a lot of credit. So the LA Rams ended up pulling off the upset. But that one, in my opinion, was a 50-50 game. This also was another 50-50 game, in my opinion. And of course, I also got the San Francisco 49ers versus Green Bay Packers wrong as well. Wasn't overall super duper, surprised by that either because I thought that the 49ers, like I said, I thought that maybe they had about a 30% chance. I just didn't think that they were going to do it because I thought that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be too risky. I didn't think all in all that he was going to win the game. But I also didn't expect that Green Bay, especially in Lambeau Field weather, which they should be used to, I didn't expect that they would only score 10 points. So it's just been a whirlwind of upsets for me this weekend when it comes down to it. I mean, with my prediction game lately, I'm starting to look like Chael Sonnen here. But, for those of you that don't know him, he's a former MMA fighter, of course, who gets a lot of predictions wrong. But, anyways, this Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs game, I went with the Buffalo Bills because the first game matchup in the season, the Buffalo Bills defense was pretty damn good against against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I thought that the defense was at least going to be able to get a couple of turnovers here. And Patrick Mahomes did look a little bit shaky. He still looked pretty good in that Pittsburgh Steelers game, but he did look a little bit shaky. I think he had one or two interceptions. So I thought maybe this was going to be the time that the Buffalo Bills actually were going to be able to get over the hump. And I was hoping overall that Josh Allen, that maybe he would finally be able to get over the hump. Let me say this, and I don't say this too often. I this might be the most clutch performance that I've ever seen a quarterback play in a losing game effort. I don't think all in all that I can really blame Josh Allen much for this one. If you want to put a part of the blame on him, you can. I wouldn't necessarily all in all, say that you can't. You don't blame any of it on him. But what I will say is this: if it is partially Josh Allen's fault, it's about 5 to 10% at most. I don't know, especially in the fourth quarter of this game. I don't know if there was really anything else that Josh Allen could have done. He got touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, and it all came in big game situations. He either ran the ball when he needed to and got the first down. The offensive line was horrid in this game for Josh Allen. They were able to repeatedly sack him. That alleged number one defense for the Buffalo Bills, that is not a number one defense. It just is what it is. I just seen that number one defense, alleged number one defense, give up, I believe, 42 points. And that's not what a number one defense is going to do. I seen the Tampa Bay Buccaneers basically shut them down to 9 points last year. Now, of course, they had a couple of linemen missing, I believe, some of their starting ones. But at the end of the day, I don't understand how a number one defense allows 42 points. It's very clear, in my opinion, that Buffalo Bills defense, that they were highly overstated, highly overrated. And I had a feeling about that earlier on in the year. I never was overtly impressed with the defense, but I thought that at least, maybe that they weren't the true number one defense, but that they would at least be maybe a top 15 defense, at least, or a bottom top 10 defense. This defense didn't even look top 10. And the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, very talented team. It's always going to be very tough to, beat them, especially not only in their home stadium, but it's going to be tough to beat them in general. because of course, their offense is so talented. Tyreek Hill is one of the top three receivers in the game in my opinion right now, or at least one of the top five. Travis Kelce is the best tight end in the game right now. It seems like Patrick Mahomes. He was having a really tough year this year. Of course, his statistics still were not bad. Patrick Mahomes put on one of the greatest performances of his career in this game. There was no turnovers by the offense. They played very smart. Andy Reid actually ran the ball a decent amount of the time as well, which I think threw the defense off a little bit because sometimes Andy Reid with his coaching, sometimes he actually tends to throw the ball a little bit too much. So that tends to be actually a very big problem with Andy Reid. But this time around, he didn't have that problem. They ran basically all over the Buffalo Bills defense. The Buffalo Bills couldn't stop a potato chip or a statue overall, in this game. They couldn't stop anything. So it is what it is. So what I'll say is this. This was a very great game. I think all in all that the Kansas City Chiefs, after looking at this performance, I'm not saying that the Cincinnati Bengals don't have any chance, but now, of course, my prediction game held. Maybe don't even listen to me after this week because, hell, all my predictions were wrong this week for NFL football. But like I said, I always try to make my predictions with somewhat of logic and objectivity just by looking at it on the surface. And I may have to do a little bit of research. The Cincinnati Bengals, they are very talented. But because this is going to be in Kansas City once again, and after the Kansas City Chiefs have very good confidence, I don't see how the Cincinnati Bengals beat them. I just don't see how they do it. The defense on Cincinnati, it seems very decent. I mean, they probably are better than the Bills defense after this game, but that's not saying much shit. But when it comes down to it, I don't know if the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to be as competitive with the Kansas City Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs just proved to me again tonight that they're still that dynamite team, in my opinion, in that of the AFC. Josh Allen, in my opinion, I said in a video before this game happened that if he lost this game and if he ended up choking this game away, that he pretty much would be Phillip Rivers 2.0, that he pretty much would be the Cam Newton to Russell Wilson, that he would be the Peyton Manning to Tom Brady. Well, in a way, he is. But I don't think that I can blame Josh Allen a lot on this one. Like I said, this is one of the most clutch performances that I've ever seen by a quarterback in a losing effort. This wasn't like an Aaron Rodgers situation, in my opinion, where he had chance after chance after chance after chance and a few chances, and the team got a multitude of turnovers, and he just wasn't able to capitalize. Like, for example, in the last year's NFC Championship, against Tom Brady, when it comes down to it, Tom Brady threw 3 picks, and Aaron Rodgers, I don't remember him capitalizing on any single one of those, turnovers. It just is what it is. Aaron Rodgers was able to score 27. Of course, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they scored 31, which, means that the defense probably wasn't top 10. But listen, we get it. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a very, very talented offense. At least the defense played somewhat okay. They were able to get multiple turnovers in the game, 3 to 4 turnovers in total. There wasn't one turnover that I remember by the Buffalo Bills defense this whole entire game. Not one. They couldn't read the offense whatsoever. They couldn't get to Patrick Mahomes early. You have to try to, get to Patrick Mahomes early. If you don't get to him early, and if he's playing at his best, which is exactly what he did in this game, he's going to dominate you. It just is what it is. You have to get to Mahomes early to make him uncomfortable. That's what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did last year. And the only defense that I really see having a chance against that would probably be the LA Rams. Aaron Donald, all in all, great showstopper. The defense on the LA Rams, great defense. The only thing is that Matthew Stafford, even though he actually showed up pretty good in the game today, I do still think that, him in a Super Bowl, and I'm predicting the Kansas City Chiefs and LA Rams to make the Super Bowl, but you never know. I mean, there's been so many wacky ass upsets this season, you just never know what's going to happen. But when it comes down to it, like I said, I predict the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs to make the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. But when it comes down to it, those are the teams that I just take a look at least on the surface, that seem the most talented. They seem the most well-coached. 49ers versus LA Rams is going to be very interesting. Both division rivals, actually. I totally forgot about that. And on top of that, when it comes down to it, it's just going to be very particularly interesting. Now, the Chiefs versus Bengals, that's going to be particularly interesting. I'm really impressed with Joe Burrow. I think that he's a very good quarterback, but I don't even think that he's on the Josh Allen level. Very unfortunate for Josh Allen, in my opinion. To be honest with you, if Josh Allen is going to win a Super Bowl, that may not be the team that is going to win him a Super Bowl. I may be wrong about that. They do look very, very good. Maybe they just need a couple more pieces. They're very, very close to at least making a Super Bowl appearance, but that defense needs a lot of work. And to be honest with you, I think that they need a new Super Bowl, I think they need a new defensive coordinator after this. The defense was horrible in this game. horrible. They couldn't stop a statue. They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the pass. And I get it. This is debatably the most talented offense in the whole entire league. But I mean, come on, 42 points. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. The defense was absolutely atrocious in this game, and that's why as soon as Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, once they got the coin toss, in overtime, I knew that the game was pretty much over. So it is what it is. But hey, you know what? Let me give credit to the Kansas City Chiefs here. Let me give credit to Andy Reid. Let me give a lot of credit, especially to Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes played with that same. He played with that same confidence. He played overall with that same type of pizzazz in his game that I've seen him play with in the past couple of years. I thought that Patrick Mahomes, to be honest with you, it looked like he was starting to become just the next Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or Steve Young or Dan Marino or something like that. One of those guys, or Drew Brees. But if he makes a third Super Bowl, even if he doesn't win it, in my opinion, he'll kind of separate himself from that pack, in my opinion. But to be honest with you, the Kansas City Chiefs, if they play against the LA Rams in the Super Bowl, that's going to be one of the greatest matchups that I've personally seen. That's the Super Bowl, personally, that at the current moment in time, I want to see. I would like to see the Cincinnati Bengals, possibly because of the upset, but the Cincinnati Bengals, in my opinion, they're just not experienced enough. And the Kansas City Chiefs, after this especially, the only team that actually has the potential to beat them is the Buffalo Bills. There's no other team, in my opinion, that actually has the potential to beat them. So unfortunate for Josh Allen, unfortunate for the Buffalo Bills, but I give a lot of credit to both teams, especially both offenses. The defenses, especially on Buffalo, could have been a hell of a lot better. Of course, certain people may say, well, what about the Kansas City Chiefs defense? You don't talk about them. Well, I don't think anyone has really claimed that the Chiefs defense is really a top-tier defense. Actually, throughout this year, they've been one of the worst defenses, it seems like, throughout the league. And that's why Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, he has to be compared somewhat to a different level than some of these other quarterbacks. Because he doesn't even have a top 10 defense in the league, and I think that's quite clear. And he might just make his third straight Super Bowl appearance. Russell Wilson was not able to do that. Drew Brees was not able to do that. Aaron Rodgers was not able to do that. Steve Young, I don't believe, was able to do that. Dan Marino certainly wasn't able to do that. And Mahomes, in my opinion, he's pretty much in that same league of quarterback. That's why, in my opinion, when I talk about Patrick Mahomes at his best, at his peak value, in my opinion, is above any of those quarterbacks that I've ever seen. It just is what it is. That's why, in my opinion, Brett Favre is well in that category as well. That's why Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, if he wins a second Super Bowl, he doesn't have necessarily enough Pro Bowl appearances quite as of yet, and a certain amount of other things. But we all know that when we take a look at Patrick Mahomes, he's an all-time great. There's no doubt about it when it comes down to it. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. I think that Patrick Mahomes is an all-time great, and if he were to win his second Super Bowl this year, I can't quite put him there yet just because his career is still a little bit too early. But let's say that he ends up getting 10 Pro Bowl appearances. Let's just say overall, for the sake of argument, hypothetically, let's just say this happens. If Patrick Mahomes ends up winning a second Super Bowl this season, in my opinion, he'll have to be in that John Elway type of conversation. That's what he'll have to be in, and a certain amount of people may disagree with me. That's if his career keeps going down this line. And who knows, Patrick Mahomes may even get in that Peyton Manning, Joe Montana conversation. We'll see overall what happens. Now, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, but this is just me, looking towards years later on down the line. If the Kansas City Chiefs, if they continue the way that they're going. But, of course, that offense is not going to last forever. The defense, may eventually get up to them. Certain teams may eventually catch up to them. We'll see what happens. But right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're kind of like the Golden State Warriors, how they were for 5 straight years. They looked like they were going to win the championship. They looked like the most dominant team in the league. The only difference between those two teams was that the Golden State Warriors, not only were they the best on offense, but they also looked like they were potentially the best on defense, or debatably the best on defense. When it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs, they're certainly the best on offense when they're at their best, but defense, they're not bad at their best, but they're certainly not great. The big question is, can they get past the Cincinnati Bengals? I believe more than likely they will. This is going to be a home advantage game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And on top of that, I think the offense is way too talented for that defense. It's not that the Cincinnati Bengals defense is bad at all. It's not, but wow. They just completely teed off on the Buffalo Bills, which, to be quite honest with you, after looking at this game, I'm not even sure if that defense is as good as Cincinnati, but I would have to take a look. Listen, at the end of the day, the Chiefs, they just still look like that main, big dragon. I thought that, the dragon, I thought that, it was older. I thought that it was weaker. I thought that his fire didn't burn as bright, and man, they came into this game, proved me wrong, proved a whole bunch of other people wrong. performance of a lifetime by both Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Got to be really proud of both of their performances. Just great quarterbacks. You can tell that Josh Allen, in my opinion, he's going to be a future all-time great. In my opinion, he's more than likely probably going to be on the future level of at least a Dan Marino, in my opinion. That's what he looks like. He has an extremely talented arm. He actually plays very good in clutch situations. Excellent, accurate thrower of the football. Like I said, his talent level, in my opinion, it's almost up there with Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. I would maybe just put it like slightly below. His arm strength actually may be above both of those quarterbacks, and that's saying something. He can make almost any throw. He can scramble extremely well. He runs extremely well as well. The big question is, will the Buffalo Bills, I think that, Sean McDermott, who I believe is a coach, he's not a bad coach. I remember when he coached my team, the Carolina Panthers, not that long ago. He's not a bad coach. He certainly can change offenses. But the defense seems to be a major problem here. Now, once again, they were ranked as the number one defense, but no number one defense in the history of the NFL, in my opinion, should allow 42 points. That's not a number one defense. I think the reason why they're ranked as a number one defense is because they played against the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets. I think that that's the clear reason. It is what it is, and that's why a big part of the reason as well, probably why they lost a lot of the bigger games in the regular season as well. So it is what it is. But anyways, that's pretty much about it overall for today. Let me know overall what you guys think. I predict more than likely, but of course this is not a guarantee, more than likely, I think that the LA Rams and the Kansas City Chiefs are the ones that are going to make the Super Bowl. But we'll see what happens. And I'm going to be very excited by that one because you have Sean McVay, who's an offensive genius. You have Andy Reid, who's an offensive genius. The defense is better on LA, but that offense on the Kansas City Chiefs, they're so dominant. The only team, in my opinion, that even has a chance to beat one of those teams is those two teams. If Cincinnati were to face off against the LA Rams, in my opinion, they're a little bit too inexperienced, to do that. And I don't know if the offense, even though it's very talented, I think it's a little bit too inexperienced for that to happen right now. If the LA Rams, if the 49ers were to face off against the Chiefs, very good defense, but just not enough offense in it. That's why they lost that one Super Bowl those few years ago. So you need two balanced teams, and that's why, Sean, or not, did I say Sean? Is it Sean? No, it's Sean McVay. Sean McVay. I was saying Sean McDermott, my bad. No, it's Sean McVay for the LA Rams. The LA Rams and Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, those are going to be the teams that make the Super Bowl, and at least in my opinion, and it's going to be a great game. I can't wait to see it. But we'll see what happens. Of course, NFC Championship, AFC Championship, happening next week. We'll see what happens. Very excited. But I just thought I'll know that I would talk about that. Anyways, that's pretty much about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.